The Attention Revolution. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Question Everything podcast with your host, Cameron Hogan. As per usual, this is the audio and video form of my weekly newsletter. If you are not yet subscribed to that weekly newsletter, I'm going to go ahead and link that in the show notes. I have some really exciting things that will be premiering the next few weeks in the newsletter, and I would love for you to participate if possible. So I don't know about you guys, but in today's environment, it seems as if it's getting more and more difficult to become focused. I think this is becoming one of the largest problems in society today, especially in my generation, but no one seems to be talking about it. After doing a lot of research in the subject, I think I've narrowed down to exactly when this started and why it's continuing to take place throughout our society. May 18th, 2012. A date that changed all of our lives without even knowing it. On this date, Mark Zuckerberg's company, Facebook, went public on the New York Stock Exchange. You may be wondering, why does this matter? Let me tell you. Preparing for this date required the company to make a handful of crucial decisions that would kind of set the tone for how the business was going to be profitable in the future. And they decided that their consumers, which now is the majority of the world's population, was not going to be their customers. Rather, they were going to be the product. The saying goes, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Instead of following a similar business model from Netflix, which is a direct-to-consumer brand that charges anywhere from $8 to $15 per month for people to access their platform, Facebook decided to take their platform in a different direction by making it free for the masses. The platform's focus is to capture as much of the user's time and attention as possible. Facebook then allows large companies to borrow that attention by running advertisements on that platform. I think it's safe to say that business model worked really well for Facebook. They make nearly $320 million every day. Unfortunately, this comes at a cost for the rest of humanity. Don't get me wrong, I don't think these platforms are entirely bad. They allowed us to stay in touch with old friends, family members, and also explore new ideas and have new experiences that we would not have had access to beforehand. And in full transparency, there's a very good chance that you subscribe to this newsletter and this podcast through a link that I had either on Instagram or Facebook. So I'd be pretty hypocritical if I said these platforms were terrible and that it didn't benefit them in some way. One thing to keep in mind about Facebook and other social media platforms is that they are incredibly effective in capturing our attention and time. These social media companies employ teams of highly educated people whose sole focus is to make these platforms more addictive. Those who can trigger the most dopamine releases amongst the masses wins. This means curating the perfect post, color, notification to keep individuals engaged for the longest period of time possible. People in the industry say that it's pretty much just a race to the bottom of the brainstem. I believe these social media companies now have complete control over the dopamine receptors for billions of people on our planet. And this is exactly why they've become some of the most profitable and powerful corporations in the entire world. After reviewing my own screen time and those of my friends and family, we've come to the consensus that we average about 4 hours per day on our phone, mostly around social media apps. That number is 4 hours, but that's an average. So some people spend closer to 12 hours on their phone. And there was also a person that spent closer to 1 hour on their phone. I really want us to think about this for a second, right? So if there's 24 hours in a day, let's say we all sleep for an average of 8 hours a night, that leaves us with 16 hours left. And if we spend 4 hours a day on our phone, 4 out of 16 hours that we're awake are on our devices. That's 1/4 of our day. And then over a longer period of time, that means it's 1/4 of our life. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I signed up for handing over 1/4 of my life to a certain company or corporation. And the problem is these algorithms are only going to get better, which means they're only going to become more addictive over time. The problem with this is, if I was spending a quarter of my day on my phone, but I was actually doing something I genuinely loved and was really productive and something that really brought me a lot of value, I'd be okay with it. But to be honest with you, if someone were to ask me after I've been on my phone for 4 hours, What did I do? What did I accomplish? What did I enjoy? I don't know if I'd have like an answer for them. It seems as if it's all kind of filled with content that I would never remember or recall in the future. I think the world that we live in has many crucial problems that, if not solved, can lead to very tough times in the future. I strongly believe that my generation is filled with people that have the potential to be the next Elon Musk. The only problem is so many of us are addicted to vaping and scrolling on TikTok for 7 hours of the day. We cannot solve all the complex problems that currently exist in the world if we continue down this path. We can never solve some of these tough world problems if every 2 minutes we were checking our phone with a new notification. We simply wouldn't have the bandwidth possible to solve these problems. I believe humans need to remember how to focus, and we need to remember how to live an intentional life again. My single mission is to help humans remember what we've learned in the past and utilize that information to guide us into the future. Every person who has made a large impact on humanity has had, one, a strong purpose, and two, the skill set of only focusing on what's important. They simply could not have accomplished what they did without living an intentional life. I want to lead a new wave of people that are intentional with how they live life, because I believe that is the only life worth living. I'm an extreme optimist about the future, but I also am aware that there must be significant changes made on the individual level for us to have any chance of creating the world that we all desire. I want to share with you the first step that I'll be taking towards that. The attention revolution. I created a 14-day digital detox program, which allowed me to reset my dopamine receptors and redefine my relationship with this new age technology. Now, as a result, social media and the many other apps on my phone only serve me and not the large corporations that are profiting off of my attention. Not only has this reset how my brain operates, it's also freed up over 19 hours of my time per week. And I want to show you how you can do it too. The protocol in its entirety includes videos and journal entries that shouldn't take more than 2 hours to complete. By following the fundamental habits taught in this program, you will greatly improve your time freedom and your mental clarity now and for the next upcoming decades. The best part about it, it is completely free. The entire program will be available in next week's newsletter on June 10th. If you know someone who spends more than 2 hours a day on their phone, encourage them to subscribe to my newsletter so that they'll have immediate access to this program when it releases. I'm really excited for those of you who will choose to participate. I believe this is the first step to living a more intentional, fulfilling life. Thanks again for all the growth, love, and support that's been shared with me these past few weeks. You are all making this journey incredibly rewarding and fulfilling. I'm so excited to see what the future has in store. So thank you everyone for taking time to listen to this video form of my newsletter. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you're interested in subscribing to the newsletter and then having access to the Attention Revolution Digital Detox Protocol, I'm going to go ahead and link that below. Until then, see you next week.